Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood personal trainer, who else but Tommyelse. And welcome to another edition of Tommyelse Personal Trainer. This episode I wanted to talk about why I don't work for a gym. Uh, when I was coming up, a lot of my friends were asking me, like, why don't you be a personal trainer? I had a lot of friends who knew that I had been working out since I was around 15 years old, that I had been coached by people who were professional bodybuilders and competitive bodybuilders. And so I certainly have the knowledge. Uh, why wouldn't I do it? Well, the reason was because most gyms worked under a very specific format. And I'm talking more about the corporate gyms. Individually owned gyms, family owned gyms, those are the exceptions to the rule. So this is not, you know, a broad, clear across the board situation. There are some legitimate gyms out there where people really do care about helping you get results. So I don't want to bash all gyms. This is more the exports, the Lifetime Fitness, and now even Planet Fitness is is now offering personal training. So let me get into reasons why this was not a good fit for me. Okay, first of all, these gyms have what they would call their own personal in-house certification. So regardless of whatever background you might have in working out, if you go for that weekend to take their classes, so it's a Saturday and a Sunday for 8 hours, they walk you around, basically give you a tour of the gym and the equipment and things like that, and what muscles it works and things like that. And then at the end of the first day, you take a test or a quiz or whatever on what they taught you that day. And then the second day is the same thing. Maybe they get into a little bit of nutrition, but most gyms on a corporate level don't want to get involved in nutrition because part of it's for liability's sake. There are people who have very specific needs from a nutritional standpoint that a common gym isn't going to go deep enough to address. Okay. So, and in the meantime, they have these sales goals that they push on all of their trainers. So, if I was a personal trainer and I had a client, rather than work their diet the way that I thought was personalized to them and fit them for their needs, I would be subject to having to follow whatever fell under the umbrella of the corporate structure of what they wanted us to either tell them or sell them, and more importantly, sell them. And that would be supplements, protein powder, vitamins, things like that, that some people might need, but most people don't. Uh, I am somebody who believes that all of your supplements and your nutritional needs can be met through diet and not having to buy supplements. There are specific cases where supplements have their place. I'm not discounting them at all. It's just not something that is some that everybody needs to have. So I had a real problem with that structure. And that's why I was like, well, I will never be a personal trainer because I'm not going to go through that. I don't want to have to be working somebody out and then be like, hey, you really, I got to sell you like two, tubs of protein, before, or I'm going to lose my job. And it's like, well, they don't need 2 tubs of protein. That's not what their problem is. Maybe they're getting enough protein. Maybe it's something somewhere else in their diet. And so that's where I came into a moral dilemma with it. And I just figured, well, you know what? I want to be a personal trainer, but I can't work within the given system. So, in spite of my friends really pushing me, saying, because I'd have people come to me and they'd say, hey, can you give me some advice on this? Can you give me advice on that? Can you come to the gym with me and show me how to do this? It's like I did a lot of that sort of stuff. So it's like I knew I could train other people and I knew that I could help other people with it, but I couldn't do it within the confines of what a gym is going to want you to do. At least on the corporate level. Like I said, there are some family owned gyms that understand this sort of stuff and would not hold you to these sort of standards. But unfortunately, they are few and far between. So, um, what happened was I stumbled upon a place that was called Fitness Together. Fitness Together is a corporate entity that puts out gyms to people who end up investing into them, and they have some structure to them because it is, what it is, but it was never sales based. So if you were a trainer there, your only job was to get results. You had a very small room with it was a franchise is what I guess is what I'm trying to get at. It's a franchise situation. Okay. So they've got their general rules for everything. But what the product was is that you got a private room with a trainer, just the two of you, where you worked out for an hour, and then in the same facility there were showers and a bathroom and things like that, so you could come do your workout, take a shower, change, go to work, if that, whatever it was. Now, what this did was is it had a very limited space because I didn't have an entire gym to work with. Okay, so I had limited amount of equipment to work with and was going to have to use that to get people through their workouts. It was enough, but it did change the dynamic of what I was used to as far as having an entire gym at your disposal. So from that, I learned how to train people on minimal equipment and ultimately how to train people with no equipment. Okay. So I loved this place. I loved it. They ended up making me the manager of the facility. And with that, I started taking a real vested interest in the place. And because they were such great bosses and gave me so much freedom to do whatever I wanted because they had that much faith in me. I mean, like, this was like the first job I ever had where I would go in on a day off and do things because I had an idea. I was like, oh, we should do this. It'll make things better. And it might have been my day off, but it was like, whatever, I don't care. I'll go in and I want to make sure this gets done so that Monday when people come in, this is set up and this is taken care of or whatever the case may be. They were great. They were absolutely fantastic people to work for. The clientele were very, very appreciative and also all got really great results. And I was in a very, very happy place. Unfortunately, at some point, the owners did end up selling the place off to a couple of other guys who did not share the same vision that the original owners did. And within 6 months, they ended up killing the business. In the course of that, that's when I decided that I was going to go out on my own because I had a great deal of these people saying, you know what, if you just came to my house and trained me there, I would be perfectly happy with that. And with just a little bit of equipment in the back of my car, it wouldn't take much to make that happen. So that's what I did. And so I was fortunate enough to start off with a not a big client base, but something at least to start off with, and would be going to people's homes and started learning how to train people out of their homes. And some people had equipment and hadn't used it. And then there were some people who had nothing at all. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, I just need like a 6 by 6 area of space on the floor, maybe a open wall for say wall sits and things like that. And other than that, I could bring all the rest of the equipment with me, and I could make that workout a productive one. I could still do all the diet monitoring, no problem. Had there was no restrictions there by any means. And so that's how my business got started. So I started training as a personal trainer in 2005. I hung through working for the company in its various iterations through 2009. And then from 2009 till current, I have been on my own. And I can train people out of their homes. I can train people out of their offices. I can pretty much train people anywhere that they need to be. And I learned a lot of that from my experience with Fitness Together because I was limited to not having a full gym at my disposal, but having just a limited amount of equipment. And even with that, that was far more equipment than I'm used to being able to use right now with the people that I train in my current clientele. Uh, but with all of that said, I have a client who has lost, 50 pounds in the last couple of years. I have, several, many, I have many success stories. You can go to my Facebook page and you can look at the reviews, and I mean, they're all legitimate. Everybody will tell you they've had success. If you do what I tell you to, you'll have success, and I don't need to have a full gym. Now, what training people at home does also is it provides a convenience for people where if they're trying to squeeze an hour in their day between work and the kids and things like that, then they can get that in. And I come, I work them out, and then I take off at the end of that hour, and then they can shower in their own home. They don't have to worry about any of that sort of stuff. Um, there's the ability to have workouts, in time slots where it's, maybe it's your lunch hour, whatever the case is, and you can squeeze it in there where you might not be able to get it in otherwise. So there's a lot of convenience factor in the whole thing, but at the same time, um, that there also translates into consistency, and that's really what's going to garner the best results is getting consistency in your workouts. So, and I have a lot of people who tell me, they're like, if I didn't have that knock at the door, at the end of the day, where it's me standing there saying, hey, you know time to work out, you know they wouldn't do it. you know if they were driving home from work and they were driving past the gym, they'd be like, not today, you know. But when you have an appointment and you have that accountability and you have somebody who's standing there waiting for you, ready to go, and you know that if you don't work out, you're going to get charged for it, you know. They go and they make sure that they're there, that they're ready to go, and that they work out. And that gets them the results that they need. And so it's been, for me, I enjoy it very, very much. I'm very happy. I love my job so much. I'm glad, I don't ever want to try to keep anybody as a client out of, I don't know how to word it. Not necessity is not the right word. I want to say that, like, I don't want somebody to train with me because they don't know what they're doing. Because I really try to teach people how to do what they're doing and to understand why they're doing what they're doing, as well as in their diets as well, just to be able to understand that, like, this is why this is important and this is why you need to pay attention to it. Because again, when I have my clients log their food, it's not just for me to be able to see and critique on, it's for them to see as well. Because you don't realize what you're doing and what you're putting in your body unless it's right in front of your face. It's real easy, the way that the world is set up, to let that stuff fly by and not understand what effect it's having on you. So part of my job is to get you to be aware of that, and then also to get you into a situation where you have that information being fed to you on a daily basis, and then you'll be able to take care of yourself. My goal is not to have somebody as a lifetime client. I want to make sure that somebody has learned how to take care of themselves both physically and nutritionally. And if they can go off on their own and take care of it on their own successfully, then God bless. All I ask at that point is for them to tell their friends that I helped them get to that point, you know. But I am in no way trying to trap people into, you need to have me and pay me forever. No, I want to teach you the right way to do it so that you can do this and carry this on and pass it on to your kids, to your grandkids, things like that. Let them know how this works, you know? And so my hope is that my business grows because of people who have had success with me and will tell others about it, not by trapping them into being under my thumb. So that, I guess, is my best way of describing why I don't work for a gym. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the second episode of Tommyelse Personal Trainer. I appreciate you guys all hanging in there and checking it out. You can find me on Instagram at Tommy_else. You can find me on Twitter at Tommy_else. I'm on YouTube somewhere. You can, I think it's the T3 Universe, but you just look up Tommyelse on YouTube, and trust me, you're gonna find all sorts of stuff. All my pro wrestling stuff, my bodybuilding, my music, all sorts of things like that. It's gonna be there. Facebook, there's the Tommyelse Personal Trainer Facebook page, and I've got information available on all of those. And if you listen to this show and you mention it to me, I will give you a 10% discount on any service that you choose to purchase. I am in the Chicagoland area. I mainly work out of the suburbs of the western suburbs of DuPage County. But I also will do diet and exercise routines with people through Zoom. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can contact me at Tommyelse at TommyelseGmail.com. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening to the second episode. And we will be back soon with more information and more shows. I'm excited about it. I'm having a lot of fun already with this. So thank you very much. Be cool. Take care. Peace out. Tupac.